So you're away at college, doing your thing, hanging out. I can imagine for a person who's sheltered, you're like, this is the life. I don't got my
Mhm.
mama and my aunties here telling me what I can and cannot do. You then decide to come back home one summer when you are 19. Walk us through what goes down that summer and what that summer was like for you.
So the summer after my freshman year, I came home just because it was easy to make money, home, and you don't have anybody paying for your dorm, to stay during the summer. So I came home for the summer, and that summer, a friend of mine that I was really close with was like going out. This was her city in a sense. She was a pretty girl, and she was around all the guys with money and stuff. And so, I was staying with her for the summer, and we were going out like maybe like 4 or 5 nights a week. And so we're with these older guys that pretty much like I would say they had a residency at the clubs pretty much. I mean, they weren't getting paid to come. But literally, they were, they had standing sections at any club you could think of in the city. And so, as a young kid, you're like, dang, like I'm around these people and we go out, we have a good time, and we're in, the spaces to be. At the time, I wasn't drinking or smoking or anything like that, but I was going out regularly. And so I remember, like, in particular, one time I went to like this mansion party, and it was like one of the guys that like supposedly at the time had the most, and he was older, and
When you say had the most, like most money,
the
like
most
the
money, the most
status and
status.
the
Yeah, yeah. And so my friend was like, hey, he likes you, but don't talk to him or whatever, because my friend wants to talk to him. And so I'm thinking, first of all, this man is old, and I mean, like way older than us. When you're 18 and someone's 36, 37, like they're
yeah.
old. I know it's maybe not to these girls these days, but whatever. So I'm already thinking like he's not my type. He's short, he's old, like I'm young, like whatever. And so, I didn't think anything of it, but there was a younger guy in the crew. And I had actually like thought the younger guy was cute. And so I didn't realize that in that crew they had a thing, maybe it was unspoken, or maybe it was just competition where if somebody liked somebody, then the other guys would just try to sleep with that person just because to show you like, oh, you think she likes you, or oh, you like her, it's nothing, like, oh, I can sleep with her or whatever. So I didn't know what was going on. Anyways, and so that was that. When she told me, hey, this guy likes you, I'm like, you know forget about it. And still, that summer we were going out, 4 or 5 times a night, I mean a week. And so I'm seeing like the guy all the time, but so which created like some sense of like not a friendship because we never really had any one-on-one interactions. But it was just like, like
He was an
yeah, he
acquaintance.
was acquaintance. Like I knew him, and I'd been to his house because that was a time when everyone would like pregame and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And so I was around, and one time my friend, still the summer, and my friend was going out of town with the guy out of the group that she was dating. And so the older guy, maybe we're all, I don't know if they had group chats back in the day, but however, everyone was like, hey, we're going to go to Martini Mondays or whatever. And they were going to have like a fight watch party or something at his house. And so I'm like, I'm around these people all the time. Everybody that was, in the group, guys and girls, like I'm around all of them. So I felt like, okay, I'm so used to going out now. It's the summertime, having a blast. Like, let's just go. So I went. And I remember driving my car to his house, and everyone's there and they're partying and stuff. And there was like a lot of drugs and stuff around, but I already knew that I didn't drink and do any drugs. So I'm kind of looking, but I really didn't know what anything was. And everyone's watching the game, and the night goes on. And I remember like little by little, everyone starts like leaving as the game is like wrapping up. And so, it starts to dawn on me that, hey, they're not going, or that, they're not going to the after club, and this one's not going. But still, because I had like brought my clothes from work, I just assumed that I was going to be changing there with a whole bunch of girls that I'm used to being around and a whole bunch of people. And then, we would all go. And so by the time like the last set of people said that they weren't going, I was just like, dang, like I already told this guy I'm gonna go, like, I'm just gonna go, like I'm safe, like I'm around him all the time, I'm safe. And so I remember, changing my clothes. We end up going to the club, and I remember like being in like this small club downtown, and it's the lights and the club is dark, and but the club was kind of small. And I remember him like keep asking me like, like, you don't want to drink, you don't want to drink, or just take a shot. And I'm like, no, like I don't want to drink or whatever. He's like, just take a shot, take a shot. So he's like, just take a sip, it's not going to do anything. So I remember like literally taking a sip of something, thinking of course nothing's going to happen, like, okay, fine, I took a sip, leave me alone. And I remember, like, saying, okay, I have to go to the bathroom. And I walked what had to be maybe, like, the bathroom was maybe 20 steps away. And so I walked to the bathroom, and I don't remember using the bathroom, but I remember walking back out of the bathroom. And I can remember it like it's yesterday. And, the lights are spinning, and the club is dark. And I remember, like, collapsing, like, in the middle of the club, which was not that big, in comparison to where the bar and the bathroom was. And so I remember like these, bodyguards or,
Security.
security,
Mm-hmm.
picking me up. And I remember them like, putting me in his car. But after that, I remember like absolutely nothing. Like I don't, I don't remember anything. I don't remember if we went to IHOP or, straight to the house. I don't remember if we stopped at 7-Eleven. Like, I don't remember the car ride. I don't remember anything. And so I remember waking up the next morning, and I was just sore, like completely sore, naked, and I'm in his bed, which I had never been in his room before. And I was in his bed, and he came out the shower, and he's butt naked, and like I just, I'm crying, and he gets up and he's like, "You all right?" And and I just jumped up, put my clothes on, I'm crying, and I run down to my car or whatever. And I remember like at the time, like, you remember that little pink Nokia phone?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I
With the
had
gray
one.
buttons.
I had
Listen.
one.
So that was my phone. So I remember calling my friend who I lived with at the time that was also around these, guys at the time. And I'm like, hey, like this guy just raped me. Like, I need to go to, the hospital. I need to, make a police report. And I remember her telling me that, I didn't need to, like, I didn't need to, like, do any of that because, like, if I'm saying that I think he raped me, that I could be wrong. Like, that I could have consented to it. If I don't remember what happened last night, then I couldn't, I don't know. And so I remember, like, in that moment, like, the guilt and the shame that kind of, like, tried to set in. And I thought that, she was my friend and she was a little bit older than me and I trusted her. And so, and not to blame her now because I still thank God for the way that my life has turned out. But I just remember like her telling me like, and I didn't think that maybe her motivation was that she was still going to have to be around these guys after I left to go back to school in Atlanta for the summer, and that she maybe she didn't want to be the best friend of the girl that said that this guy raped her or, was raising a big stink. And yeah.